Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we're talking about modesty. Um, it's very difficult. I found writing the notes for this video. It's very difficult to talk about modesty because the whole point of modesty is that you don't talk about it. You don't show off. You don't brag. You know, you're not trying to be this braggadocious center of the room, center of attention kind of thing. Um, and I don't know if I'm particularly good at this, and I don't know if this is particularly in my wheelhouse, but I'm going to try and talk about the themes of modesty while also realizing that I talk and do this for a living, like I make videos. I am not a modest person. In this capacity, in this area of my life, this is the least modest that I act. So I'm going to try and draw on elements of my life that I don't talk about, how I interact with people on a daily basis, and how modesty can be this superpower. It can be this really powerful thing, especially in this world of filters and social media and Photoshop and veneers and Botox and all of this stuff. Because modesty is not sexy, but it kind of is in this weird way. It's the same thing when you talk about humility or being humble. It's kind of hard to talk about it because talking about it innately detracts from the actual thing. Like if you're a humble person and you talk about how humble you are, you're not a humble person. So it's hard to kind of conflate these two things and get them in the same room together. But we're going to try it. First of all, I think modesty, in my modest opinion, I will try and keep the jokes to a minimum, I swear. I think modesty is, the you are so comfortable with yourself that you don't need to brag. You don't need to show off. You don't need to jump into a conversation and be like, oh, well, I met this person, or, oh, well, my dad's got this thing. Modesty is a state of being that allows you to feel comfortable with who you are, really at tune with who you are, and not need a whole lot. Modesty is self-sufficiency. To be modest is to realize that I don't need all of this fancy stuff. I don't need the fast car. I don't need the expensive clothing. I don't need any of that stuff. And it's being comfortable with that idea. It's being self-assured, self-determined, and it's actually an incredibly powerful and an incredibly desirable trait to have and to want in other people. When you meet somebody who is modest, you're almost always very impressed by them. Like you meet somebody at a party or wherever you are. I don't think modest people particularly go to parties a whole lot. Who knows? But you meet somebody who is modest and you're just immediately struck by how they could be the center of the room. They could be the most interesting person there, but they're choosing just to sort of sit back and observe. They're choosing to live life on their terms and how they want to. And a modest person is underrated by definition. They're someone that people don't necessarily associate with being this incredibly fascinating person. And yet we are fascinated by them. You talk to a person who just embodies that modesty, and you're just like, man, I'm just on the edge of my seat. Like, I want to know more. My brother is really good at this. My brother is typically the very quiet person at the party. And when he speaks, everybody just stops talking because everybody is really curious to see what's on his brain. What's he thinking? What's his opinion? And he can make a silent room fall down laughing. He can tell a joke and diffuse the tension, and he's just very impressive that way. And I've kind of always envied that like modest capability. He's not trying to do anything. He's not trying to impress. He's not trying to be the center of the room. He's not trying to make everybody go silent when he speaks. Modest people don't have like a motive like that. They exist, and they have this energy to them and this self-assurance of like, I know who I am. I know my self-worth. If these people don't want to hang out, it's fine. And I think a lot of us have this like neurotic tendency to overthink things and have anxiety and to go, oh my gosh, I really hope this person likes me. I really want them to like me. Maybe if I talk about this thing, they'll like me. Maybe if I wear the right shirt and I do this and I do that. We have this like constant chattering in our heads. And I think to embrace modesty is that just like, again, it's that like laid back, quiet self assurance going, cool. Like I'm excited to hang out with you, you know? And they don't have this like needy, desirable, fervent energy to them. They just exist because they have that self confidence. And I do think that modesty is something that you can practice and you can get better at. Like I said, it requires just practicing it a little bit, going to a party and not trying to be the center of the room, trying to observe, just trying to enjoy, you know. Uh, when the song comes on, you don't have to blast out singing. You can just quietly bob your head and listen to the human experience. Um, I was at a concert recently, and one of the things that I love to do at a concert is when everybody is singing and dancing, and there's music and alcohol, and everybody is just there for a good time, and people have their phones out like candles and flashlights, and um, I like to just stop for a second. I stop singing and I just look across the whole auditorium at all of these thousands of people sort of enjoying, this moment. And um, it was really neat. I was there with a friend and she noticed it and she asked me about it the day after, saying like, "Oh, what was that all about?" And I explained what I've just explained to you. And she's like, "That is so humbling. Like that is so cool that you do that." And I realized that it's kind of an example of modesty because it's sort of taking in the world in this way and appreciating it. And it's taking those moments for yourself and just enjoying them quietly. Like you don't have to scream out the lyrics of the song. You sure can, and nobody should stop you from doing that, especially at a concert. But having that self-assurance just to take that moment and enjoy it the way you want to, like I said, it's this quiet confidence in who you are and understanding that you don't need anything else. I think a lot of us have this hole inside of us that we're trying to fill with people and relationships and products and brand names and medical procedures and teeth whitening and all of this stuff. It's this hole that we're trying to fill, this void. And a modest person doesn't have that, for whatever reason, whether it was their upbringing, their genetics, practice, and dedication to just being modest. They're really comfortable with themselves. And it's really neat to hang out with somebody. It's very magnetic, especially for someone like me who sometimes does feel that hole. Sometimes I do feel like, oh man, I'm not enough. And when you hang out with a modest person who just has that quiet confidence, you are incredibly attracted to them. I think it's one of the biggest things that I'm drawn to in other people, is this modesty, is just, yeah, this like quiet self-assurance and just understanding like I'm good enough, I'm on my path. I'm going to work consistently towards it. And these people tend to be very reliable. They tend to be very honest, because I think that goes hand in hand with modesty is, oh yeah, yeah, it's thrifted, whatever, doesn't matter. And it's not a bragging kind of thing. It's not like a overt desire for people to get to know me. A modest person's just kind of happy to be there and enjoying the flow of the world. So I don't know. I'd love to hear your opinions on modesty and this idea that are modest people comfortable with themselves and self-assured and self-sufficient and self-reliant. I mean, a lot of them sort of just, yeah, I can get it done, I'm good. And I just find that incredibly appealing. And like I said, I do think you can improve that skill. You can certainly make yourself more modest. And again, it requires not showing off. It requires not bragging, because I think at the end of the day, that like showing off element to people, the desire to drive the fast car or the big jewelry or um, all the money, I think that comes from a huge insecurity. And a modest person is not insecure. They're not worried about what other people think of them. They're not concerned with it. because like I said, it's this quiet confidence, this self-assurance that I can get it done, and I'm not going to scream and shout and run across the room to achieve what I need to do, but I know what I need to do and I'm going to go do it. So that's my thoughts on modesty. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this resonates with you. If you're someone who is trying to improve your modesty skills, let me know how it's going. And if you think that you are someone who is quite modest and um, anything that I talked about in this video kind of resonates with you, I would love to hear your opinions. I know that a modest person very rarely comments on videos like this, or is even interested in poking their nose up into the big world of toxic social media. I think a lot of these people probably don't even have a phone, so they're just off doing their thing and conquering the world in their own way. But if you are one of these people, I would love to talk to you. So let me know down below. And as always, guys, I hope you're having an amazing day, week, month, year, whatever you're having. I hope it's amazing. I hope you're loving your life and doing the things that you want to do, striving to be better every day. And as always, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.